Tumeken's Light is RuneScape's brand new tier 95 halberd weapon dropping from Amascut, with big AOE damage and a pretty crazy passive. After over 10 years, it might just be time to retire your Noxious Scythe. In this video, we'll check out the new weapon, test it out and compare it to the Noxious Scythe as well as the other existing tier 95 weapons. I've been lucky enough to get this drop pretty early on at Amascut in a 750% enraged kill. We got it during a livestream, so the link to that VOD is in the description. With that said though, let's have a look at what this weapon actually looks like. The Tumeken's Light is a tier 95 weapon, meaning that it is pretty much the same damage and accuracy as the existing EZK and Arch Glacier weapons. So these are basically the weapons that it is competing against. However, there is more to it than the stats, of course, and that is that this weapon has a slightly longer range than these weapons. With a range of 2 tiles, this puts this weapon in the same category as the Noxious Scythe, which has been competitive in some areas of the game up until today. So from a pure damage and accuracy weapon, this Tumeken's Light will finally replace the Noxious Scythe as a best in slot weapon in that category. But it goes beyond damage and accuracy. So let's have a look at the special effects of this weapon. The Tumeken's Light has a passive ability that whenever you kill something, you will shoot up to 4 light beams onto additional enemies in a 6 tile radius. This is the best passive on any weapon for Slayer activities. The more monsters you kill in any given activity, the better this weapon will be, which does make it slightly interesting that this weapon is actually disproportionately better at lower level activities, which is kind of strange for such a high level weapon, but it does mean that you can use this weapon to farm out scavenging components very effectively. Because while you're killing those low-level mobs, every single hit is basically going to kill an enemy and shoot out beams that kill all the other enemies as well. It is like every single hit of your weapon is a Threads of Fate hit. On top of that, if you're doing some higher level Slayer monsters, this weapon can also allow you to not use as many aggression potions, because it kind of acts like an aggression potion. As long as there are enemies around you, whenever you kill your current enemy, it will shoot out light beams at all the enemies around you, making them aggressive to you once again. This weapon also of course has a special attack, and it doubles down on that AOE niche. Essentially, when you activate this special attack, instead of shooting out light beams whenever you kill an enemy, it will shoot out light beams every single time you attack an enemy. It only lasts 15 seconds, and the light beams are a little bit weaker than the passive's light beams, but it is still some crazy AOE damage if there are a lot of enemies around you. On top of that, the initial hit is quite strong as well. So the verdict is simple. If you use a Noxious Scythe anywhere in the game and you can afford it, this is an absolute insane upgrade. However, currently this weapon is worth billions and is more expensive than the other tier 95 weapons. So let's compare it to those. Those weapons really specialize in single target PvM encounters like bosses and other type of things. And unfortunately there is no way around it. In almost all of those activities, the Tumeken's Light is an incredible downgrade to the existing weapons. Both the EZK and the Lengths just have way stronger passives and special attacks when it comes to hitting a single monster. And during my testing at bosses, it really fell short. However, there are a few niches for this weapon in bossing. Specifically, if you are doing Raksha and you cannot quite skip the pools, using the Tumeken's Light will almost guarantee that killing the pools will be pretty smooth, because sometimes pools stick around, but the light beams will clear them up every single time. That is fairly niche though, of course, and frankly, in bossing focused environments, this weapon is an absolute letdown. Even things like Zuck Waves and Elite Dungeons aren't really great with this weapon, because frankly, you don't get that many monster kills in there, and the monsters have so much HP that the damage you get additional from the light beams really isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. Because remember, the less HP monsters have around you, the better this weapon is. All that being said though, what do I think of this weapon? Quite frankly, I think it's pretty cool. It's a pretty great upgrade over the Noxious Scythe, which has been in the game and on top in its fair niche for over 10 years. So finally seeing an upgrade to that is pretty neat. It doesn't really replace existing weapons on the high level bossing content, but for me that seems like a fair thing. Currently, it's not worth the money, likely not, unless you are a crazy Slayer fanatic and going for some Slayer titles, but this weapon is gonna drop in price. Don't expect this to be more than 2 bill, maybe a bill, I think, once it settles. And at that price, I think it is a fair pickup, even if it is just for Slayer and then selling it later. Quite frankly, on top of all that, it is just a very flashy and fun-looking weapon, although it might not be as great as you might want it to be for bossing. For Slayer, however, and any other small monster activities, like farming scavenging components, this is best in slot by far. Like, it's not even close. And for Iron Man, it can also have an additional niche of kind of acting like some pseudo-aggression potions. And I am sure that I will think of some very fun scenarios to use this weapon, specifically due to that aggro potion-like functionality it kind of has. But with that said, I hope you enjoyed this very quick look at this weapon. And if you're interested in more content, there will be more down the line. This was just a really quick little overview of this weapon because a lot of people have been asking me about that on stream. And if you want to join the streams, I have recently been streaming both on Twitch and YouTube simultaneously, so feel free to pick out your favorite platform and come say hi. We're doing a lot of Amascut, we're trying to get the tier 95 magic robes because that is the style that I'm more comfortable with. But yeah, we got this weapon, so I made a quick video about it, and I hope you enjoyed.